west of the Mississippi. Traveling thousands of miles, these tiny units laid out paths for practically all the great transcontinental railways. Matters of scientific interest concerned them as well: geology, mineralogy, biology. Drawing had been a required course back at the Academy at this time. It proved valuable. As artists, as well as reporters, they were able to return with excellent records of what could be expected: the edible, the dangerous. Later, this information was to guide those who went west: the miners, the farmers, the ranchmen. They made friendly contacts with the American Indian, and their detailed reports of the various tribes were to provide a basis for future understanding. Reporting an Indian prayer ceremony, Thayer's men reveal their human side: curious, but at a respectful distance. Some years after the Pacific Railroad surveys, Thayer's men were on hand in the building of the railroads, frequently as civilian engineers. This extraordinarily difficult and rapid construction was dependent upon a nucleus of talent that could be found nowhere else in the world. Thayer's adaptation of the Academy to the needs of a growing nation played a definite role in our physical expansion and technological development. In large measure, the achievement that linked East and West stemmed from Thayer's emphasis on technical training. In later years, from the building of the Panama Canal and until this day, the tradition of Army engineering has continued. Our harbors, together with inland waterways, the great projects of flood control, all under the Army's Corps of Engineers, were first developed under the supervision of Thayer's men. Our scientific and technical skill was harnessed and organized, and the monuments remain. Sylvanus Thayer can not only be called the father of the military academy, but the father of technological education in America. In the wars since Thayer's time, West Pointers became known for qualities he had stressed at the academy. During the Mexican War, his graduates achieved a brilliant record. Had it not been for their leadership, military authorities say this war could have lasted some 4 or 5 years longer. During the war between the states, West Pointers were prominent in the leadership of both sides. Grant and Sherman, Lee, Stonewall Jackson, and many others. The long gray line from General Pershing to the distinguished graduates of more recent years owes much to Thayer for his deep and lasting influence. Every officer in our Army has, to some extent, been touched by his teachings. The officer of today and the future faces ever-changing developments in the technology of defense. Nothing is more certain in this age of space than change. But qualities which Thayer wished to instill in his officers, these remain constant: character, independence of mind, a respect for knowledge, a capacity to meet the future with flexibility and purpose. Each year at graduation time, West Pointers gather to honor Sylvanus Thayer. There is pride among them in having been cast in a fine mold, and gratitude to West Point and to Thayer. For all Americans, there is greatness in the symbol that he has become for our times. He saw that determination to defend this land is not enough. Knowledge and training, the full education of the professional soldier, the engineer, and for that matter, every American. This is the source of our strength as our country faces the future.
The Big Picture is an official report for the armed forces and the American people. Produced by the Army Pictorial Center. Presented by the Department of the Army in cooperation with this station.